bonus material coming at you because I love you guys and I want you to get a full workout now. So you have learned how to do the hardstyle plank, both on your forearms and your hands. You've learned how to do the goblet squat. You've learned how to do the hip hinge. And now you've learned how to do those initial setup movements for your swing, the drag and the hike, especially, and then the swing itself. So I'm going to show you how to combine those exercises with some other exercises so that you can get a total body workout. Generally, I would suggest that you do 3 sets of these exercises. They can be done in a circuit. Circuits aren't ideal, but if you have limited availability of kettlebells, it's better if you can just try to add time under tension. That's really what you're trying to go for here. And basically what that is it's a way to mimic like the tension that you'd be under for like 5 reps of a heavy back squat. I don't have like 300 pounds in any capacity around me, so I have to mimic that by adding additional volume with kettlebells on me. It's not ideal, but actually for a power lifter, it's kind of a nice way to give your body a break, work conditioning a little bit better, and really drive home those powerlifting movements because they're really the same thing. Okay, so first of all, your goblet squat. I just ran through that, but what the fuck, I'll do it again. So remember that to get into your goblet squat, you do a 2-handed clean, which is an exercise in and of itself. A clean is where you go into a hinge position, right? And then you're basically giving the bell power from your hips to bring the bell or the object, you can do this with a barbell too, into the position where you want it, usually rack position for kettlebells anyway. So getting a clean, like a single arm clean, sets you up for your military press. It sets you up for squatting, right? Like a front squat, like a 2-bell front squat. And you can like lunge from that position. It just really opens everything up. In fact, this Friday, we're going to start looking at the clean. So the 2-handed clean, you have your bell in between the balls of your big toes or the handle, and then you sit back, right, just like your hinge, and then explode your hips just by squeezing your hips forward, and then you have the bell at chest height. Okay, everyone's a little different, but for most people, feet a little wider than hip width, toes turned out slightly. Everyone's a little different. Play with it. You will find the right position for you. And then remember, you initiate with a hip hinge, making sure not to let your ass stick out from the rest of your back, right? Stay in one nice long line, sink it. Inhale down. Try to keep those shins as vertical as you can. And set it down. You're going to do 10 of those. One quick thing I'm going to mention about the squat too, if you have longer limbs, like especially longer legs, the way you look at the bottom of the squat can be a lot different from the way it looks for me. I don't have particularly long legs. I'm 5'5", and I have hip mobility that allows me to squat relatively easily. For taller people, they have a longer distance to go and they have more body to get out of the way on the way down. So as long as it feels right and you feel more loaded into the backside, that's a good sign. If you have questions about it, send me a video. I say that every time, but send me a fucking video. From there, we're gonna do a floor press. So this one, depending on how strong you are in your upper body, you will need a lighter bell, especially women. So this is a 25-pound bell, a 12-kilo bell. This would be light for me because I've done the exercise quite a bit. But you know what? Play around with it. So what you'll do is you'll come down onto the floor with your knees bent. I think it's the right way to be. So feet are about hip distance apart. The way that you want to get the bell into the position for this exercise is you don't just want to grab it like this. You want to roll it into position using your body, okay? And not, because that's actually going to expose your shoulder to some potential harm if the bell is heavy. And in fact, I think, I'm going to use heavier bell to demonstrate that, because when it's little, it's not such a big deal, but you're trying to build good habits, good rituals right now, so that when it is heavy, you're already in the habit of getting the bell into a position safely, okay? So I'm gonna be working my right side, right? So my right hand wraps around the handle and I pull the bell close to me. It's kind of heavy, hopefully I can do this. And then I use my left hand to kind of guide the bell up into position, okay? So here, my thumb is over my collarbone, right? So you wanna keep the bottom of the bell away from your face. Cannot say that enough, right? For fairly obvious reasons, right? But here, my pec is engaged, right? I'm keeping the bell pretty close to me. My wrist is completely straight. If you're not used to that, that can be uncomfortable. My advice is to suck it up because you'll get used to it. If you get nervy type pain, if you have a bone that protrudes a lot, then you can use some kind of wrist protection. Okay, this is heavy, just holding it here. So then I'm gonna bend my elbow to about 45 degrees and press up. Notice I use that same breath, right? And then, whoop, if I get here, I want you to see, don't do that by the way, how my left side is actually working really hard to keep me from being pulled to the right. So just as much as this is a right-sided exercise for your right side, your non-moving side is working really hard to make sure that you are staying stable. So core, pretty much, right? So having wider legs will help a lot, but just notice like a tendency for your legs to want to drop to one side, the side where the weight is, or the other side is like a counterweight. And just pay attention to habits that you might have that you need to break. I'm going to show you from this position because I want you to see my wrist and also my elbow position. My elbow is going at about 45, maybe a little wider degree, which is actually the same as the barbell bench press, okay? Not too much, but you're still turning your elbows in slightly to help you engage your lats in particular. So also don't pass the bell over your body. That also might seem kind of obvious, but I just halo the bell up and over like this. Okay, it's my less dominant side, so hopefully I don't smash myself, but I gotta keep them even, baby. Okay, so feet flat. I like to keep this side really engaged to make sure that I don't get pulled to one side or the other. Wrist is completely straight. Thumb over the collarbone, squeezing my pec and my tricep at the top. Bend that elbow. Obviously, it's gonna be different from the barbell bench press because my palm is rotated more in, right? So bend, and you see how I'm working really hard on this side to not get pulled to that side, okay? So if you only have light bells, that's okay, just start there, learn the movement. You can always make anything harder by slowing down in one direction or another. I'll usually do like 5 at tempo, 5 slow down, up fast, blah, blah, blah. You can figure it out. If you need suggestions, hit me up. I'm not gonna be making workouts for anyone, like personalized, that's a paid service. If you'd like that, hit me up. Otherwise, you know, use your head. So you have your squat. I want you to do 10 reps of your squat, and then you're gonna do that floor press, right? Just like we did. And then I want you to practice your swing. I'd like you to do 10 repetitions. If you are more comfortable just doing your hip hinge right now, perfect. I would do 10 repetitions with your hip hinge too. Film yourself, make sure that your back is staying in the right position. I would film yourself for both. Remember with the swing that you're probably gonna feel like an idiot at first. Look back to that swing video I just made so that you can remember those tips that I gave you. And then from there, you're gonna do a bent row, a single arm bent row. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this exercise. I'm gonna show you my personal favorite way and a modification of that. See how I'm picking it up nice flat back. Okay, so for this one, Usually, if you've done like a bent row on a bench, it's kind of the same idea, right? You have this hand and this leg up, this foot is on the floor, and you row, right? So you know, if you've done that before, this arm is not passive. This arm is actually like pressing into the bench to help you keep an upright position of your chest, right? And to also keep your upper back musculature especially active, right? Or not being lazy pieces of shit, in other words. So often, you know, I kind of see people like this with this exercise, they're kind of just like hunched over, or this, not even really using their leg. Use it to your advantage. Just like with the floor press, the non-moving side should be working, I don't want to say just as hard, but right along with the moving side, okay? So I like to be in a split stance up on my rear toe, like this, okay? If balance is an issue, you can turn this foot out like this, like a warrior, right? Like, I don't do yoga, but from what I understand, this is like a warrior pose, right? This will help you with balance, but you see how here I'm like a railroad track position, right? If you're gonna put that there, don't like turn your hip out like this. Make sure that you're still honoring this position here, right? And again, it's all kind of like fundamentally a plank, right? So then this arm is going to be up on my thigh, my forearm. So it's kind of like a weird forearm plank. And I'm using it, I'm like pushing myself away from that leg so that I have a strong upper back position. And then from there, my hand is gonna grasp onto the handle, okay? So from the side, that's what this looks like. And I like to keep my chest a little higher than my hips, but I'm low with my legs, right? So you want to avoid something like this. Your thighs will burn too. See it as a bonus. So hold on to the handle. You see the bell starts at my heel on my left side. When I row, it ends up like here. So you're not coming straight up and down. You're moving in an arc. See how my shoulder at the top is pulled back. Most common issue with the row is this. See how that dumps forward? Terrible for your shoulder, okay? Pretty much any way you can slice it. I want you to think about pulling that shoulder open without rotating, okay? So you don't want to do this, right? But you also don't want to do this. So what I usually tell people is think about sliding your elbow past the top of your pants and really squeeze back here. If you feel a lot of tension here, you're probably hiked up there. Let your body be your guide. Elbow past the waistband of your pants and down. Elbow past the waistband of your pants. See how it's pulled back like this and down, okay? Just watch out for rotating. That's probably the biggest issue I see with that exercise. So remember to adjust the number of reps if you only have light bells or if you only have heavy bells. So what I want you to do, 3 sets of a circuit, goblet squat, floor press, 10 on each side, adjust as necessary. And then the swing, 10 repetitions of that, or the hip hinge. And then the bent row, 10 on each side. Adjust for the weight that you have. Can't say that enough. If you need modifications, please let me know. And then after you do that, at the end, I want you to do hardstyle planks on your forearms and on your hands, 10 breaths for each of those, 3 times through. So goblet squat, floor press, swing, bent row, 3 rounds of those, and then 3 rounds of extended plank up on your hands, and then a forearm plank on your forearm, but hard style. That means you're squeezing the hell out of everything, and you're doing that breath, okay? I've given you guys a lot to work with, so I really hope those of you who've been tuning in will watch these videos and really try to learn them, because we are building up to do some cool shit. Now that you have the swing under your belt, this is when it starts to get good. We're gonna learn the clean on Friday, hopefully, unless I figure something else out that you guys might need. And then from there, we're gonna start doing some complexes. Take it easy, guys. Love you. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Charis.